There is a moment, just after sunrise, when the world feels suspended between two states, darkness not fully gone, light not fully claimed. In that quiet threshold, something ancient and invisible begins to stir within your body. Not a thought, not a feeling, something deeper. A signal written into your biology long before modern life pulled you indoors. This signal is triggered by sunlight, and at its core lies one of the most misunderstood forces in human health, vitamin D. But vitamin D is not just a vitamin. It behaves more like a hormone, a master regulator that speaks directly to your DNA. It tells your cells how to grow, when to repair, when to defend, and when to die. It influences your immune system, your brain chemistry, your bones, your heart. And quietly, almost invisibly, it influences how fast you age. Yet here's the paradox. More is not always better. Less is often dangerous. And somewhere in between exists a narrow, powerful range, a biological sweet spot where your body begins to operate the way it was designed to. Too little vitamin D, and your system starts to slow, weaken, and fragment. Your immune defenses become less precise, more inflammatory. Your bones lose density, your muscles lose strength. Your brain becomes more vulnerable to decline. It's not a dramatic collapse, it's something subtler, a gradual dimming. Too much, however, and the system becomes overstimulated in a different way. Calcium levels can rise beyond safe limits. Soft tissues, arteries, kidneys can begin to calcify. The same compound that once protected you starts to create new forms of stress. This is where the concept of the sweet spot emerges. Not deficiency, not excess, precision. Scientists measure vitamin D in the blood using a marker called 25-hydroxy-vitamin D. And what they've discovered over decades of research is that the body doesn't just need vitamin D, it needs it within a specific range to function optimally. Below that range, aging accelerates. Above it, risks begin to shift. Inside that range, something remarkable happens. Inflammation, one of the primary drivers of aging, begins to calm. The immune system becomes more intelligent, less reactive, more targeted. Cells communicate more efficiently. Mitochondria, the tiny energy engines inside your cells, begin to perform with greater stability. It's as if the noise inside your biology begins to quiet down. And in that quiet, repair becomes possible. Because aging is not just about time, it's about accumulated damage. It's about how well your body can repair what has been broken, clear what no longer serves, and maintain the delicate balance that keeps everything running. Vitamin D, in its optimal state, becomes one of the key signals that tells your body, now is the time to repair. But modern life has created a disconnect. We wake up indoors. We work under artificial light. We shield our skin from the sun, avoid it, fear it. Entire populations now live with chronically low vitamin D levels, often without realizing it. And slowly, quietly, the consequences begin to unfold, not as a single disease, but as a pattern. Fatigue that doesn't fully resolve, immunity that feels inconsistent, bones that weaken earlier than expected. A sense that something is off, even if it can't be easily named. The body is still trying to send the signal, but the signal is getting lost. Deep within your cells, there are receptors, microscopic gateways waiting for a specific key. Vitamin D is that key. When it binds to these receptors, it doesn't just trigger a single reaction. It activates entire networks of genes, influencing hundreds of biological processes at once. This is where its relationship with aging becomes even more profound. Because aging, at its core, is not just wear and tear, it is a gradual loss of coordination. Systems that once communicated clearly begin to misfire. Signals become distorted, repair processes slow down, inflammation lingers longer than it should. and over time, this breakdown in communication begins to manifest as disease. Vitamin D, in its optimal range, helps restore that communication. It enhances the expression of genes responsible for antioxidant defenses, allowing your body to neutralize the reactive molecules that damage cells over time. It supports the integrity of your telomeres, the protective caps at the ends of your chromosomes that shorten as you age. Shorter telomeres are associated with accelerated aging, and low vitamin D levels have been linked to faster telomere shortening. But when levels rise into that sweet spot, something shifts. The rate of decline slows. The biological clock doesn't stop, but it begins to tick more gently. There is also the immune system, arguably the most critical player in the aging process. With insufficient vitamin D, the immune system becomes both weaker and more chaotic. It struggles to respond effectively to real threats while simultaneously overreacting to harmless stimuli. This imbalance fuels chronic inflammation, often referred to as inflammaging, a low-grade, persistent inflammatory state that quietly damages tissues over years. In the presence of optimal vitamin D, the immune system becomes more balanced. It can distinguish more clearly between friend and foe. It becomes less reactive, more precise, and this precision reduces the background inflammation that accelerates aging from within. Even the brain is not untouched by this influence. Vitamin D receptors are found in regions of the brain involved in memory, mood, and cognitive function. Low levels have been associated with increased risk of cognitive decline, depression, and neurodegenerative conditions. It's not just about bone health, it's about how clearly you think, how stable your mood feels, how resilient your mind remains over time. And then there is muscle. Often overlooked, muscle tissue plays a crucial role in longevity. It stabilizes your body, supports metabolism, and acts as a reservoir for glucose regulation. Vitamin D helps maintain muscle strength and function, reducing the risk of falls and physical decline as you age. So when vitamin D drifts below its optimal range, the effects ripple outward, across systems, across functions, across time. But the sweet spot is not a fixed number for everyone. It is a range, a dynamic equilibrium, influenced by genetics, environment, skin tone, geography, and lifestyle. Two people can have the same level on a lab test and experience different effects, which is why understanding this isn't about chasing a number. It's about understanding a signal. Your body is constantly interpreting its environment, adjusting, recalibrating. Vitamin D is one of the ways it translates sunlight into biological action. It is, in a sense, a conversation between your body and the outside world. And when that conversation is clear, the body begins to align itself in subtle but powerful ways. Energy stabilizes, recovery improves, systems synchronize. Not perfectly, but noticeably. So the question becomes not just how much vitamin D you have, but how your life shapes that level, day after day, in ways you rarely notice. Sunlight is the original source. When ultraviolet B rays touch your skin, they initiate a chemical reaction that your body has relied on for thousands of years. It's not instant. It's not excessive. It's gradual, self-regulating. Your body produces what it needs, then stops. But this natural process depends on exposure, on time spent outside, on the angle of the sun, on how much skin is uncovered, on the pigmentation of your skin. It depends on whether your life allows for those moments in the light, or whether you move from one enclosed space to another, barely intersecting with the sun at all. And when that exposure disappears, the body doesn't immediately fail. It adapts, it compensates. But over time, the absence of that signal begins to reshape your internal environment. This is where many people turn to supplementation, and it can be effective, sometimes necessary. But here again, the principle of the sweet spot becomes critical, because supplementation is not the same as sunlight. It bypasses the skin's natural regulation. It introduces vitamin D directly into the system, which means the margin for imbalance becomes narrower. Too little, and the deficiency persists. Too much, and the risks begin to accumulate quietly, often without obvious symptoms at first. This is why testing becomes important. Not obsessively, not constantly, but periodically, enough to understand where you stand within that spectrum. The goal is not perfection, it is alignment. To bring your levels into that optimal range where your body can function with clarity, where inflammation is moderated, where repair processes are supported, where the slow drift of aging is gently resisted rather than accelerated. And when that alignment begins to happen, the changes are often subtle at first. You may not feel dramatically different overnight, but over weeks, months, something begins to shift. You recover a little faster, you feel a little steadier, your energy becomes more consistent, illnesses may become less frequent or less severe. There is a quiet strengthening, a sense that your body is working with you rather than against you. This is not a miracle. It is not a shortcut to immortality. It is a return to balance. And in a world that constantly pushes the body out of balance through stress, artificial environments, disrupted sleep, processed food, these small points of alignment become more important than ever. The vitamin D sweet spot is not just a number on a lab report. It is a reflection of how well your internal biology is tuned to the environment it was designed for. It is a signal that your body is receiving what it needs to maintain itself, to repair itself, to defend itself, and ultimately to age not as a process of rapid decline, but as a slower, more controlled unfolding. Not perfect, not permanent, but steadier, more resilient, more alive.